And we'll get going. So, hello and welcome to our calendar year 2022 annual and quarterly reporting overview. As I said before, we are recording this session to be posted on the web, so please disconnect now if you do not consent to being on a recorded webinar. I'm Katie Zurich. I'm the acting director of the Bureau of Managed Care at the Pennsylvania Insurance Department. As many of you know, we moved the Bureau of Managed Care from Department of Health over to the Insurance Department last January. So it's been about 15 months, maybe not even 15 months, 13 months of Insurance Department oversight over Bureau of Managed Care, involvement, streamlining, and this is another one of our major streamlining projects. So we wanted to give you an overview around changes, expectations, and also invite your feedback and input on some of the stuff that we're doing here. The first thing I wanted to talk about was to make sure you all know how to find us. If you don't have the link to the BMC page bookmarked in your computer, you can always go to insurance.pa.gov. Click the top right corner regulation tab, and then from the drop down menu, select Bureau of Managed Care. That will take you to our homepage where we have a resources box. And for our purposes today, the two notable points are the document library, where you'll find documents the Bureau of Managed Care has created and posted for public access, and the forms and instructions page, where you can find all the documents that you have to fill out and send back to us. When you click on the Managed Care Bureau of Managed Care Forms and Instructions link, it'll take you to our Forms and Instructions page, where you will see, alphabetically organized, the annual report, instructions, and form, as well as the calendar year 2021 and calendar year 2022 quarterly report, instructions, and forms. Why both? Because on February 15th of 2022, next Tuesday, the data you're reporting is quarter four calendar year 2021 data. And then this is also the case for the annual data submitted on April 30th of this year. That's all your calendar year 2021 data. So because it's calendar year 2021 data, it's going in the old version of the forms, which you'll be able to find on our forms and instructions pages. We had replaced the annual report instructions and form with the new version. And that was totally my fault. I apologize to everyone. So you will see the 2021 annual report forms and instructions back up on the site shortly, and that will be hopefully not confusing. But again, next week when you're reporting the February 15th information, that's going in 2021 quarterly report forms and instructions. So, moving on, what's new and notable this year? Well, first you'll see that in the reports, we're asking for the NAIC company codes. If your group has multiple different companies in it, which many do, and you provide multiple lines of business, please submit a separate report for each company. On the other hand, if it's the same company offering multiple lines of business, those would be included on a single report. Also, there's a section for behavioral health reporting contact. And this year, BMCOs are required to report because we're trying to get a full understanding of the scope of the marketplace, all the coverage options as much as we can. So we're pulling in all the different kinds of data that comes through the MCOs and other types of coverage. Also note that the quarterly report for general information has an extra row to identify both the quarter and the year that you're reporting on. So that's the only difference in the general information section for what you have to fill out between annual and quarterly. As you're filling this out, keep in mind that the primary purpose of this section is for us to be able to know where the information is coming from and who can answer our follow-up questions. So if there is a single person who has completed the report, who curated all the information, who got the information from a behavioral health vendor, from a utilization review vendor, whatever else. That contact, and then hopefully their backup in case the person wants to go on vacation or something, that's fine. If but if for whatever reason behavioral health information is coming through someone else and the best person to answer questions is different from the person who's completing the report, just let us know so we can get to the right people to answer questions quickly. The next thing you'll notice is that the form has been reorganized around different lines of business to account for changes in the insurance landscape with passage of MAPIA, the Affordable Care Act, and other major healthcare reform initiatives that have happened since the passage of Act 68. State and federal regulations have changed a lot. They've changed the way we think about and access healthcare coverage, the way we regulate healthcare coverage, and so we're responding accordingly. So if the company does not have enrollment in a particular line of business or in a particular county, just leave the corresponding cell blank. If the company uses a subcontractor like a behavioral health vendor or delegates services that involve enrollment, the company itself, the upstream entity at the company level, is still responsible for reporting its applicable data. So as an example, let's say company A, and I'm super original here, offers individual insurance on and off exchange in Adams County. They contract with BH-MCOS for their behavioral health network, their behavioral health utilization review, all behavioral health claims processing, and then anything else relating to behavioral health. They are pushing, company A is pushing that over to BH-MCOS. Company A would report their enrollment for Adams County for the individual market in this blue box right here. And BH-MCOS would have no reporting responsibility for Company A's enrollment. Why? Because all behavioral health services are included in Company A's benefit package, right? So every Adams County resident who gets medical services coverage through Company A also gets their behavioral health services covered through Company A. So it's all on Company A. If Company A relies on BH-MCOS staff to provide the reporting information, and they're the people who can answer the questions, then you would include the contact for BH-MCOS up in the general information behavioral health contact area. It's that simple. Now, let's say Behavioral Health MCOS also serves as a BMCO for Adams County residents who are eligible for health choices and for community health choices. In that case, BH-MCOS as a BMCO would have to file a report, and they would enter their health choices enrollment in these green and red boxes. The health choices would go in the green box, and then the community health choices would go in the red box. You will also notice here that we are asking for self-funded and Medicare enrollment data, even though we know we don't have authority over those areas. It's federal government. This is solely to try to help us wrap our arms around what the overall coverage landscape looks like for Pennsylvanians. So we very much appreciate your help in these efforts. And this is the only table where Medicare and self-funded data should be entered. And again, it's just to try to better understand who's got what kind of coverage, because the data sources for all of that information is a little crazy. So just know that that is how we're doing that. If you have it for the company, please include it. If you don't, we it's not required. But again, we're just trying to get a better sense there of what things look like in Pennsylvania for Pennsylvanians. I'll also flag The other and out of state rows. For out of state, obviously, you might have small group or large group employers who have employees who are outside of Pennsylvania, could live in Delaware, Maryland, or New York, or Florida, or California, or wherever. Um, if if that's the case, please report that in the out of state row. That other line is honestly in case there's something we didn't think of. I'm not sure what it is, but as things are changing, as the world is pushing into lots of remote options, we want to make sure that we're able to capture information that could be helpful. So if you do use the other row, please make sure you include some kind of narrative in your reporting that tells us what other means to you. um, Moving on to the enrollment data for quarterly reporting, we don't want it broken down by county. For quarterly purposes, we're really only um, looking for total membership. But, at the close of the last quarter, what are the additions and terminations and the net change for the quarter? So that's the difference between the annual and the quarterly reporting. Only applicable to annual reporting is the breakdown of disenrollment categories. So loss of coverage and number of members involuntary disenrollment and termination by HMO during the calendar year have been combined from the 2021 version. And so they are now to be reported together as disenrollment or termination. And the reason we did this is we recognize that Medicaid and commercial business use different terms and have different rules relating to disenrollment and termination. So we're really trying to incorporate the various concepts into a single form. We appreciate your collaboration on this effort, and we are happy to accept feedback on ways we can do this better. And so, we're open to feedback here. Um, and if we should in the future think about a separate form and separate instructions for um, the commercial versus the government program business, let us know that too. We want to try to make this easier, and we know there's a lot in here. But the reason there's a lot in here is because this information matters to all the oversight that we do. Um, so we appreciate, again, your collaboration here. Also note, disenrollment is not needed in quarterly reporting. Also in quarterly reporting, in line with enhanced network adequacy review, both at the federal and state level, we have all this increased interest in network adequacy measures, what we have, what we don't have, how we can get it. You'll see that we have broken down wait time measures into initial and follow-up visits. This information doesn't need to be reported on a quarterly basis, but it does align with concepts that were outlined in the notice of benefit and payment parameters for qualified health plans in the commercial market, and also aligns with overall network adequacy review and getting a better understanding of what Pennsylvanians are experiencing, and ties to some of the complaints, both formal and anecdotal, that we've heard from um, members of all different types of business, including self-funded, which we've forwarded on to our partners at the federal government. Also, for both annual and quarterly reporting, you will see the complaints and grievances section. This is going to look a lot different from last time, I think, because the Affordable Care Act and then Medicaid regulations have kind of upended the language in Act 68. So we're trying to crosswalk the various terms to the best of our ability to both fit into an Act 68 structure and to apply to both commercial and government program business. So what does that mean? Well, first, we have complaint reporting separated to reflect the difference between those complaints eligible for one level of internal review. So if it's not a covered service, um, on the Medicaid side, you only get one level of review. And then it goes to external after that. And those services or denials or adverse benefit determinations that are eligible for 2 levels of internal review before they go external. An example of this is, a person seeks authorization to access an out-of-network provider and they're denied and they never get the services. That should have 2 levels of review. For commercial insurers, we do expect you to report here, even though external review of adverse benefit determinations goes to the federal EROs because of the preemption of our processes. We do want the reporting on your internal appeals and then the numbers relating to where the external reviews have gone. For purposes of this reporting as well, just to make sure we've got apples to apples comparison, for commercial plans, adverse benefit determinations should be counted as complaints and reported according to whether they were given 1 or 2 levels of internal review. So you're going to be using A and B. And I will say right now, like, this was an arbitrary decision just to make sure that all the commercial insurers are putting things in the same boxes. So as we do the comparisons later on, we're not trying to match, was someone thinking this and did this. Also, reporting of internal and external grievances has been stratified by service type. So for the groups reporting grievances, mostly that's going to be Medicaid and CHIP, you'll see the difference for internal and external with the service type included here. So personal assistance services, home modifications, that may not apply to your company. If it doesn't, leave it blank. Also, a reminder, grievances are services that have grievances apply to services that were denied because a medical necessity determination was made, or they were lowered because a medical necessity determination was made. A service that's been classified as not a covered benefit because the treatment in question was not medically necessary should be classified as a grievance. In addition, denials due to the experimental or investigational nature of a treatment should also be classified as a grievance, regardless of what is driving the experimental and investigational decision making. This, again, is a choice we've made to make sure that the reviews are done by the right people, but also that the reporting is done consistently across the board. If we receive at the insurance department a complaint that should be classified as a grievance or vice versa, we will notify the MCOs and then the enrollees of our determination and route the file accordingly. Finally, you'll note in these tables, partially upheld has been added as a category for both complaint and grievance review decisions. That is to reflect decisions that are not completely in favor of the plan or the member. As one of my favorite and fiercest advocates once said, anything but a yes is a no. And we want to make sure we account for that in our oversight and regulatory efforts. For quarterly reporting, we ask that complaints and grievances be broken out by reason. Is it not a covered benefit? Is it out of network? Is there network adequacy or quality issue happening? So you'll see that for quarterly reporting, there are some reason rows that you'll need to fill out in addition to the totals. And that's the difference between the annual and quarterly. Whoops. What did I do? I hit the scroller button, and now I'm all out of sorts. Okay, here we go. The next thing, applicable to both annual and quarterly reporting and notably different from past reporting, is that for provider network purposes, we want the provider network templates that you have recently submitted to your Commonwealth regulatory oversight offices. So commercial plans, for example, you should be submitting your network adequacy template via the Quest Analytics SFTP site. We want those templates, and we want the quarterly update provided using that Quest Analytics template. Medicaid and CHIP entities, you should be uploading to our reporting SharePoint site a copy of your most recent report that went to your respective DHS offices. I know some of you are reporting on a monthly basis. If you're reporting on a quarterly basis, send us the most recent one. And then again, commercial insurers, we want the template, we want the QES Quest Analytics template that represents your current network structure. The biggest difference is we're asking for the entire network data, not just the change sheet of providers that have been added and deleted. We will use the network data and compare quarter by quarter how it's changed. So we'll do the change sheet on our end. You just need to upload the templates that you've used. For utilization data, you'll see that we have added rows for mental health and substance use disorder in the utilization data section. But there is still a full behavioral health reporting section that needs to be filled out. We've just done a few things here. For the BMCOS, we know this is your first year that we've asked for this, and so I wanted to provide a quick summary to all of you. In general, if you are a BMCO, please use the behavioral health contact part of the general information section. In the enrollment data, you're just reporting enrollment and disenrollment for applicable government programs. So again, if you are contracted with a commercial insurer for behavioral health services, but that's not your responsibility ultimately. You don't need to report for those. However, if you're covering health choices enrollees for their behavioral health and you've got enrollees, then you do need to report that. In the delivery system section, we want your quality reports. We want your information about mental health and substance use disorder wait times if you've got them, provider directory URL, provider contract samples, and consumer satisfaction surveys should be included in your reporting for the annual report. For the provider network, we do want the template that was provided to OMSOS. For utilization data, we only need the mental health and substance use disorder for A and B, and then the section D, the out-of-network referrals, we would also like to see. For the annual reports for the CREs, if you're using CREs, we would like to know who they are. And then there is the behavioral health section, and we would like you to fill out all of that. So again, we know this is, I think it was a surprise to folks at the BMCOS to learn that we were going to be asking for this reporting, and we will work with you on making sure that the data that we think we're supposed to see from you is clear and that we're getting it reported. Quick reminder, the reporting dates are May 15th for quarter 1, August 15th for quarter 2, November 15th for quarter 3, and February 15th for quarter 4. Annual reports are due on April 30th. So, and don't forget that this process, these instructions and forms actually don't get used until the May 15th quarterly reporting. And you won't use the annual reports and instructions until April 30th of 2023. For the quarterly report due next week, Again, that's the 2021 quarterly reporting, and the annual report due on April 30th, 2022. You'll use the 2021 reporting form. And finally, just a reminder, if you haven't received the email already, it will be going out shortly. Credentialing reports, it's credentialing cycle time. Those will also be due on April 30th, and we are updating and sending out letters and credentialing reporting information. If it hasn't gone out already, it will be soon. Finally, if you have questions, so where do you submit the annual and quarterly reports? We're sticking with SharePoint on this, but not the ERO SharePoint that many of you know. It is the SharePoint site that you've all grown to know and love since Bureau of Managed Care was at Department of Health. We are sending out SharePoint links on a rolling basis, making sure that all the right people have access, doing our best to test what we can, and get information to you. If you need to make changes, add people, have problems with your link, still need your link. I know the BMCOS might not have these links from the past, so we're going to be getting them out to you. Please make sure you contact the Bureau of Managed Care. We have a resource email account, and note that there's a hyphen after the RA. Again, this, I think for those of you who have been here for the last year, you know this resource account name is totally my fault. It was a miscommunication with the IT people, so I apologize for the alphabet soup here. But this is our resource account. And then you can also call us if you have questions. If you send an email about this to the resource account, make sure you include annual reporting link in the subject line so we know what to look for. With that, I'm going to end the slideshow and stop sharing my screen and open up for questions. And for those of you who joined after I made this announcement, we have been using the mute all function. So if you're on the phone, make sure you unmute the phone, and also if we still can't hear you, press *6 before talking. If you can, if you are on the webinar, you should be able to unmute yourself by clicking the clicking unmute next to your name. So with that, I will open it up for questions.
Hi, how are you? This is Sean Adams from Health Partners Plans. I just had a quick question about the reporting on the complaints and grievances section. So correct me if I'm wrong, but we report the data from our Medicaid, CHIP, and our Medicare Advantage line of business. The challenge with Medicare Advantage is that CMS defines complaints and grievances, slightly differently than what it's defined as on the Medicaid and CHIP side, for example. To your point, grievances on the Medicaid and CHIP side are, decisions that were based on, a medical service, and it was denied based on medical. Whereas grievance translates on the CMS side to, just a complaint. A member expresses some type of dissatisfaction. And then it's split out by Medicare Part C complaints versus Medicare Part D complaints, aka grievances. Now, what we consider grievances analogous to Medicaid and CHIP is what we call appeals, and again, split out by Medicare Part C and Medicare Part D. I know that the request is to populate data like for plan or for member, which is done for, the Medicaid and CHIP lines of business. But for Medicare, it slightly differs. It's you're reporting essentially whether it was resolved or whether it's, still pending or whether it was denied. Is that okay to report it that way? Or should we go back and figure out how to restructure it for Medicare Advantage Part C and D pieces?
So I have really good news, Sean. Medicare reporting does not have to be included for the complaints and grievances at all.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only Medicare data we request, because we have, our legal team has looked at the Medicare regs, and we are, from the Bureau of Managed Care perspective, we are preempted by the CMS regs. The only thing we are asking is that if you have Medicare business, that you include the enrollment numbers. Beyond that, we are not requesting any additional Medicare data.
And that goes for the network adequacy too, because I
Correct.
you mentioned federal and state. So I just want to make
Yep.
sure network adequacy, it's the preemption
Yep.
as well. Okay.
Yep, not for Medicare, for network adequacy either.
Great, thank you.
Other questions? And again, I think it's *6 to unmute your phone if you're on the phone line.
Katie, this is Rob. I've been trying to answer some questions in the chat as they've been coming in, but are we sending out the PowerPoint or posting it to the website?
We can do that. And so we'll post
Katie?
sorry, I'm talking on mute. We will post the PDF of the PowerPoint as well as the recording of this session on the website.
Katie?
Yes, go ahead, Tasha.
Hi, how are you? Hey, I have a question about the provider network reporting. Now, we had submitted provider network templates back in, I think it was November. So separate and apart from this. So going forward, they get submitted with the quarterly reports. Is that my understanding?
Yes, for commercial, that is what we would like to see.
Okay, so there's no other submission due until, what date is that? Until May?
May, yep. And then so just so we're clear, there is the qualified health plan application process. The network adequacy report the network adequacy template should come in with the qualified health plan reporting, but then you can use that template as your August 15th network adequacy reporting.
Okay. All right, use for August. And then, so what would be due in May?
So in May is where's your, for commercial, where is your network now using the Quest tool? For Medicaid health choices in May, what you would be submitting is whatever template you provided to OMAP for your network most recently. For community health choices, you'd submit whatever you submitted to OLTL most recently. And then for CHIP, whatever you have most recently submitted to the CHIP IT folks is what we'll use.
Katie, this is Debbie Kramer with United Healthcare.
Hi, Debbie.
I have a quick question for you. Will the instructions be clarified to this is what we expect for commercial versus the other lines of business? Because there were portions that you said commercial, you must do this. Medicare, Medicaid, you must do this.
Well, I mean, I think we can update them. We can update them to clarify a little bit more, but largely it's really just making sure that everyone understands that, like, if we're talking about, like, the Affordable Care Act talks about adverse benefit determinations in the commercial market. Act 68 uses complaints and grievances. There's not a direct crosswalk for those terms. And so we would like, and the same is true, the Medicaid regulations created, even though Act 68 says you have to have 2 levels of internal review and then give the external review option, the Medicaid regulations say these certain services only need 1 level of internal review. So because we don't have a common lexicon across Act 68, the Affordable Care Act, the Medicaid regulations, federal regulations for ACA, like we don't have a common lexicon, we are really trying to go by what's the operational process. 2 levels of internal review or 1. How do you like, is your adverse benefit determination a grievance or a complaint? For commercial, we want adverse benefit determinations for this year to go in the complaint section because the grievance the grievance information is really broken out to contemplate more CHIP and CHC coverage, community health choices coverage, more so than commercial. And so I think if we tried to have people use the grievance table in the commercial market, there will just be a lot of confusion because it's like, well, we don't do it like that. So I think we can update the instructions for
that part was one of the ones that I had made
Yeah.
a note about, that you need this under complaints, but it's not in the instructions for our commercial, that we have that in the complaints.
Yeah, we can add that note that we want that in the complaints just to make it easier is really the goal.
That would be helpful. While I gather the data to submit, I don't own the data, and my data folks, if it is not there in writing for them, are going to stick it where they think it should be stuck, not necessarily where you want it.
Got it. We'll make that update. Thanks,
Yes,
Debbie.
please. Thank you.
Additional questions? Rob, anything from the chat that we should read and offer
Hi, Katie,
answers
this
to?
is Jocelyn.
Okay. Hi, go ahead, Jocelyn.
Just a quick question. I know that we have another meeting scheduled to kind of discuss some details, but in your presentation today, you indicated that a template was shared with UMSOS, and I'd like to just track down who you may have shared that with. I know that I did not receive it directly, so if you could share that with me prior to our meeting, that would be helpful.
I'm sorry, that what was shared with UMSOS?
The network template?
Oh no, what I was saying that whatever you submit to UMSOS would be what we would expect to be reported to us. So if you get regular reporting on networks, that's what we would. We don't want companies having to recreate templates that they already submit to other agencies for our purposes. So we're leveraging the existing templates that are used for reporting to use for reporting for these purposes. We don't want any new stuff created.
All right, great. I'll now reserve my other questions for our meeting later. Thank you so much.
Hi, Katie. This is Kizzy with United Healthcare. So confirming that the new report for annual will not need to be used until the April 30th, 2023 due date.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so the template that is to be used is the one that we've historically used. Is there a place on the insurance.pa.gov website that has that old form, or the one that we should be using this year?
Yeah.
Okay.
I accidentally had the last year's version taken down
Oh,
And
okay.
so it's going it's going back up. I apologize. I was looking at
Okay,
it and I'm like,
great.
what did
Thank
I
you.
do? I got ahead of myself. So yes, it'll be there
Okay,
for April
great.
30th. And I'm hoping we're trying to get it put back up today.
Okay,
Totally my fault. Sorry, everybody.
no worries. But it's the same, essentially the same form that we used last year.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
And I will say, today's presentation kind of highlighted the differences. There are still, for annual reporting, contracts, consumer satisfaction, marketing materials, referrals, like those sections still exist. And for the sections that have not changed, um, you won't have to worry about like you still have to report them. You just don't have to worry about changes this time around.
Katie, just one more question. I know that you had mentioned we no longer need to report the Medicare Advantage for the 2022 reporting templates for annual and quarterly. But for the February 15th, should we still report what we have for that quarterly report? And for the April report following the 2021 templates?
So um, I think technically don't tell anybody, but I honestly don't think we have the authority to ask you to report the Medicare uh, information. It
Is it
is,
okay if we still do though? Because we already
yeah,
broken out in
yeah,
our template. It
yeah.
just doesn't say for plan for member. It's like
Yeah,
resolve. Okay.
yeah. If you if you've already got everything set up to report in that way, we will accept it for the remaining 2021 data reporting. Um, and I think um, we don't want to add to your plate. So don't don't do system changes until it's 2022 time.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Additional questions, chat information?
I know we'll probably have more questions, Katie, as we work through this and I work with my business owners to gather the data. So we would send that to your RA many
Yes.
letters
Yeah. Please send it to the
ta.gov email.
alphabet soup. Yeah, the resource account. And
Okay.
we will put it in the chat for anybody who wants to copy and paste it. Um, and we will do our best to get back to you quickly and make sure you have everything you need to get things reported. And
And that's also where we reach out for the links to the SharePoint because I do not have them for both my insurance company or both my companies that I report for. We've
correct.
never utilized it.
Yep.
We've just
Yep.
emailed it to Tracy.
Yep. Yeah, it would. I think Tracy will be the person who's responding anyway, but yes,
Okay.
if you go through the resource account, that's probably the best thing.
Okay. Do I need to, what information should I include other than the insurance or the company's name?
Just who will need access to that, because we have to provide we provide access to the SharePoint link by email address. So anybody at the company who needs to have access to upload or pull down information if for any reason we put something in there.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. So we have about 10 minutes left, but I'm happy to end before the 10 minutes is up because we're heading into the lunch hour next. So I want to make sure everybody has a chance to do what they need to do. One last thing, I'm not sure if the official email went out yet or not. My last day at the insurance department is tomorrow. I am heading on to other stuff. And so for those of you who I've worked with recently in the Life Accident and Health Bureau role, Lindsay Schwartz is our Life Accident and Health Director now. She started a couple weeks ago, and so you'll probably see her name popping up here and there. And then for those of you on the Bureau of Managed Care side, the resource account is still probably the best way for the team to get back to you. A new director should be announced soon. In the meantime, Rob Figure is sitting in as our as a I don't know, temporary supervisor, acting supervisor. So Rob is also a good person to connect with if you need anything specific. So with that, if there are no other questions, we will go ahead and end this presentation. We'll get the PowerPoint slide deck and the recording posted on our Bureau of Managed Care website, I think, depending on how the platform works. And look forward to hearing from all of you.
Good luck, Katie, in your
And
new
thanks, everyone.
adventure.
Thanks all. Have a great day.
Thank you.